Welcome to today's webinar. This is for tutors who are working in centres who have signed up for our new platform, which is called Learn with Nala. So this replaces the old platform that we had called Write On. We launched the new platform back in March at a time when there was a lot happening in terms of QQI, re-engagement, also collecting learner data for PLSS, and also to give a new look and feel to the work that we had been doing before in Write On. For those of you that have already signed up with the platform, you should have received an email with a test learner account with a tutor login, and I'll go through those today. If you haven't received an email, you can let me know at the end of this today. I'll put my email up. The email, when you get it, should look something like this, whereby you receive a link which is specifically for your centre. And I put in a screenshot into the email as well to let you know that your centre name should appear there. What we did find happening at the start back in March and April is that tutors were letting learners sign up as independent learners, so they weren't attached to a centre. The disadvantage with that is that if the learners are doing portfolio work and we need to follow up with the learner, sometimes it's harder to get contact with them if we're contacting them as independents, whereas if they're in a centre, we can get hold of the centre more easily, which means then we can let the learner redo the work, so everything is processed more quickly. Plus, what you'll see from today on the platform, there's an ability for you now to go in as a tutor and look at the learner progress. So if your learners are set up as independent learners, unfortunately, you won't be able to do that. So it is important when you're creating those accounts to create them using the specific link that we give you in the email. And that link will bring you straight to a form that you use to create the learner account. There's details to be collected like email, PPSN, date of birth, and so on. And what you should see at the bottom of that form is your centre name. For example, here it's showing Mayo, Sligo and Leitrim ETB. Previously, if you had worked with Write On, you might have seen that there was a long list of about 190 centres, and the learner would have had to have filtered through that big long list. So to make it easier now, we just provide the one name of that centre there. So that's why you get a very specific link. We appreciate that the link that you get, which you can see up here, it's courses.nala, and then there's a long piece with a code at the end of it, which is specific for that centre. It is a long link, and you can use websites like tinyURL to copy in that long link if you like, and that will spit out a shorter link. For example, tinyurl.com and then a number of characters. That might be one way to do it. What we also see happening is that the tutors are setting up the accounts on behalf of the learner. And if they do that, then you can simply go to the NALA website, scroll to the bottom of the page and go to login. And then the learner can log in with the username and password for that account that's been created. I'm going to step through all of this now anyway to show you how to do it. And also what you receive in that centre email is a list of videos that shows you how to create an account, how to start on a course, how to enroll for multiple courses. So I'll show you that today. And then the tutor view, which shows you how you can monitor learner progress and also view grades. And there's also a tutor guide that we've done. So you would receive a getting started guide, which is a short document. And then the tutor guide, which is in the handouts today, is a longer guide with those frequently asked questions added in. And I can also show you where you would find that on the platform. So to begin with, let me show you the kind of link that you would get when you're signing up. Okay, so this is what I like to call the outer part of the platform. So the platform will have a lot of e-learning courses on it that you can follow. But in order to do that, an account has to be created. So that's the first step. And the second step is then, once that account is created, the learner has to be enrolled in courses. And to do that, you do these two steps, account creation and course enrollment, on courses.nala.ie. And when you're given the link as a centre, it will look something like this. So there'll be a code with UP or XP on the end, and it will bring you straight into a form that will look like this. And there should be one and only one centre name then here at the bottom. Okay, so do make sure you're using that when you enroll your learners. If you haven't received this centre link, you can click on Become a Centre here, and there's a short form that you can fill out, and we will start up the process for you to become a centre. Or you can simply email me after today's webinar as well. I'll provide my email at the end, and I can send you on the details on how to become a centre so that you get this kind of link. There is a video here that explains the form below and the kind of things that you need, for example, for a password. So I'm going to create a learner account. The first thing you might notice here, and this is just to let you know, if you're doing this in a centre whereby you have multiple learners using the same computer, you see the way the old information is being held here. So one thing that I would recommend is, and your IT department can help set this up as well, if you go to the browser, and we recommend using Google Chrome and the very latest version of Google Chrome, then go to History and History, and then make sure you clear browsing data, in particular the autofill form data, okay, so that it'll clear that. It's the browsers trying to be helpful and trying to hold on to the information. Obviously on my computer here, I'm creating multiple accounts all the time, so that's why it's trying to be helpful and remember the information for me. But obviously if you're in a centre and you have one learner after another that might be doing this on a computer, from a GDPR perspective, we recommend that. So it's a little bit like wiping down the desks when you're done. So now it's not holding that information from before. Okay, so that's just a tip for you. Use Google Chrome, go to the three dots here, the settings at the side, and history. And I should say, as this is being recorded, this will be available to you after today so that you can play this back and go back over it again. Okay, so I'm going to create an account. And I can create my own password. Okay, and I'll put in an email. Okay, so the learner will need their own email account. And I'll put in a name for them. And an address. And a phone number. And I have a fake PPSN here. And then a date of birth. If you have learners who are under 18, what will happen here is it will pop up looking for the parent name or the guardian name. So that's a requirement because we're SOLAS funded that information is provided. We would only contact the centre though if there was an issue with learners' work. So if a learner was submitting portfolio work, that would be our first port of call, the centre, not the parent. Okay, so just to bear that in mind. Okay, there's also terms of service. When you click on that link, it'll bring you to a page where there's a video. So it'll explain what the service is, and also the same for the privacy policy. Okay, so you can click on those and it shows you how to get back to this page and then create account. So that's the first step done. So the learner account is now created. The second step is that the learner has to be registered in courses. Now, the way we've split it up here is that you could choose courses independently. So at the moment, we have a number of level 2 courses that are there. So you can see them all, writing using technology. And we have 4 level 3 courses at the moment. And there will be a few more coming before the end of the year. And we'll also hope to get some level 1 courses up there before the end of the year as well. We've set it up at the moment that you could choose these individually, or we're starting to create bundles. So for example, this level 2 certificate in general learning, the bundle that's available in this is reading, writing, listening and speaking, pattern and relationship, using technology, and personal decision making. So if you wanted a learner to do several courses, we'd recommend signing up for this. Or if you just want them to do one course at a time, you can use these options down here. Okay, so for the moment, I'm going to choose this bundle. So I click on register now, and it basically gives me a receipt where it says this is your registration number, my username and password is there for the account, and it's telling me that I have signed up for the level 2 certificate in general learning, which are those 6 courses. Okay, at this point, if I wanted to sign up for another course, maybe a course that's level 3, I can use my back button and I could scroll down to something like maths. Okay, so that's going to tell me now that I've signed up for maths, and I could again use my back button and sign up for something like career preparation. Once I'm happy with that, then I click on clicking here and it'll bring me to a different page. Okay, so this is the main login page to the e-learning courses. So when you get your tutor email, you'll be given an account for yourself as a tutor, and it will bring you straight in here. So we create the accounts for you as a tutor. We enroll you into courses in NALA. So we're doing all of those things that I've just demonstrated that you have to do for your learner. So as a tutor, you shouldn't ever have to enroll in a course, but the learners will have to do that, okay? So I suppose just to keep that in mind. So I'm going to sign up with my new account. Just learner 4. Okay. And I might save that. So what you can see here is all the courses that are available. If I go to level 2 general learning, it's just those 6 courses in the bundle. And if I go to level 3, then it's the 2 level 3 courses that I've signed up for. Okay. What you'll also notice here is that there's a logo and an image. So what we've done is we're creating what we call branded pages for all the centres. So when your centre is being set up, we get a logo from you, or we can make a logo for you as well and put it up here, because even though we're calling the platform Learn with NALA, you know, we recognise that these are your learners and that you're the ones helping the learner through the platform. So it's to give a sense that, you know, this is your space on the platform to work, and that the tutors recognise that the learners recognise that they're working in your centre. Okay, so your centre logo should appear here for both the learner and then any tutor accounts for your centre. There'll be some announcements here, so it's always useful to keep an eye on those. So this is on the home page. We've also put some guides in here under help. So we've started a new course called Learn with Nala, and there's some getting started content in there. And then to get started on a course, simply click on a course of choice. And that brings you into a home page for the course. So there'll be some videos in here that explain about the course and how to get started. And then to get straight into the course itself, click on Content. And the first block that a learner will ever see is called What Do I Already Know? Okay. This block is basically initial assessment. So any of you that would have worked with Write On would have seen the initial assessments at level 2 and level 3. We call this our recognition of prior learning, because the idea is that if any of these tasks or questions are answered correctly, then the learner can actually skip through all the lessons and an end test should appear at the end. So this is a block that learners can do to fast track through a course. They don't necessarily have to do it, but we think it's a good way of getting a diagnostic, because all of these tasks, and there's 4 of them here in this particular course, will map to the learning outcomes for level 2 pattern and relationship from QQI. So if you Google level 2 pattern and relationship QQI, you'll see those 4 learning outcomes. And the first one, for example, is to do with regular and irregular patterns. And for each task that's here, there's also a lesson that corresponds to it. So let's start into it and give you an idea of what the content looks like. You'll always see these speaker buttons, and when you click on that, it will read out the words. To navigate through this, then you can click on the next button. And then some of the activities can look like this. So they're drag and drop questions. So for example, you can drag the items from one side to the other. At any time as I'm working through this, if I click on clear answers, it will reset everything. So that's what that means. And then if I click on check answers, then I get a score. So then there's other question types where there's a quiz. So for example, I would click on what I think is the right answer and continue. Okay, and I get a score. And a lot of these exercises were copied from, or were the same as what you would have seen on Write On. So we've kept that continuity of the content. And this should be the last task. And this one is what we call a drop down. So the learner has to click on an arrow and then choose an answer. Okay, and then it gives me a score. So it looks like I got everything right. There's 2 videos here that you can watch depending on if you think you got everything right or if you think you got some things wrong. So I'd recommend even yourselves, you'll be able to go in with your tutor account and look at those. I'll show you how to do that shortly. And then click I'm done. So that's the first block completed. What you've noticed here is all the tasks that were listed here automatically disappear. So the tasks in that initial assessment can only be done once. And whatever grade you would get, if you failed a task, the grade would always be held as that as well. Okay, so you can't repeat that block. What we recommend in the videos is for the learner, they can go to My Progress and they can view how they think they got on. Okay, so this learner can go to, for example, grades, and they can see their results. So they got pass for all the items. So theoretically, this learner could skip through all the lessons and just go straight into an end test. The other block that you might note here is that there's one called additional information. So because we're a SOLAS funded platform, any learners who are independent learners or who are in a centre that's not affiliated to an ETB, there is additional information beyond the PPSN and date of birth and so on that are requested. So this link would bring you to that additional information page. So if you are in a centre that is not an ETB, this block will appear. If you are in an ETB, the block won't appear because you're using the learner detail form in your centre. Okay, so that's just to explain what that means. So if I just go back to content again, what you'll notice is also happening is these little pop-ups appear. So these are badges. So we basically give a badge for each task that's been completed correctly, or if lessons are completed correctly. What you'll note is the end test has automatically appeared here, okay, even though I didn't do any lessons at all. To give you an idea of what the lessons look like, it's very similar to what you saw in the initial assessment. So there's some information. There's drag and drop type questions. So both images and words. We also have this type of question, which is new, which is a sequencing one, where you need to move the things into the right place. And when you see a green bar, then that means that it's in the right place. So you need to keep moving them around until they're all correct. And I would recommend as a tutor to go in and you can pop in and out of any of the lessons. For example, here you can see that I've done or viewed as a learner up to screen number 6 out of 12 on lesson 1. I can pop straight into lesson 2 if I want and go straight to a question. So for example, if you're using this for blended learning, supposing you're doing, a lesson about naming of numbers, number groupings. In this type of question, you're asked to look at where there's groups of things, find the item, and then a question will appear. So it says how many chairs are in the kitchen, and I give an answer. And I need to keep going in this particular one until I've found all 4 things. So here we're getting into that kind of terminology of a dozen, a trio, a couple, and so on. Okay, and I keep going in that way. Okay, so you might be doing a lesson on numbers, for example, whereby you're looking at the kind of names for a dozen, a couple, and so on, and you could decide to jump straight into that particular activity. So, as I say, it's good to keep in mind that you can pop in and out of lessons. So that's slightly different to write on where you couldn't, you had to go sequentially through everything. Whereas with the lesson content, you can pop in and out of it. The end test, just to show you that, at lesson 2, there's a number of questions to do, which all map to the 4 learning outcomes. So if I click on start here, the questions that will appear will be very similar to what you saw in the initial assessment in that what do I already know block, because they're testing the same kind of learning outcomes. And I can also move things around if I'm not happy with them. And then check my answers. Okay, so I would keep going on in that way for the questions. Just to give you an idea what happens if I get questions wrong. Okay, so I get a score. I would have to play an audio here and then listen to how many times the presenter said sit down. So I'm just going to give an answer here, as I happen to know the answers. And then there's one to fill out here. And again, I'll just put in some right and some wrong answers. So this one is a fill in the blank one. Okay, so I got some things wrong and it's telling me I got 3 out of 4. Okay, again, there's videos that tell you what to do here if you think you got some things right or some things wrong. So the thing that the learner can do is they can check my progress. If they want to be really sure how they're getting on, they can go to grades, and then they can see that question 2 is a redo and question 4 is a redo. Okay, that means that they need to do them again. So at this point, as a learner, I can simply go to content, go straight back to the end test, and indeed go straight back into question 2. And the important thing here to note is that I need to retake the content so that the grade will change. Okay, so I'll try and get this one right this time. Okay, so that's question 2. So I got it right this time. If I decided, or by accident, I hit question 3 and I decided to retake the content, and notice that different questions will appear because we have randomized it so that the question that appears is from a bank of questions, of 3 questions. Okay, so this time I didn't get it right. But what we'll note now is if we go back to my progress and grades, question 2, the grade has changed, so it's pass. But question 3, the one that I just failed the second time round, is still pass. So when you click retake content or retake the question, it means that the highest grade is held. And in this way, you could actually use the end test as a practice to go through it a second time. You can decide with the learner if you want the learner to do all the questions again. And even if they get some wrong, that's okay, because if they got it right the first time round, that grade will be held. But the important thing is that the second time round, if they had failed it the first time, then the new grade, the higher grade, will be held. And then if I wanted to repeat question 4, I can simply go back into the end test again and go and do question 4. So just to go back to my slides again, what I intended to show you today is the branded center homepage. So that's with your logo. The fact that there are a lot of instructional videos, so those videos that are available in the lessons at the end of each of the assessments, the initial assessment and the summative or end test. We have some new question types, so the sequencing one that you saw, and the hotspot where I had to click on the picture. The badges, which is the awards that appear, and that might be nice as well to motivate learners, so they get a badge for every time that they have passed a task or if they've completed a lesson. And then the tutor login that I'll show now. Just to finally say, and this graphic is on page 4 of the tutor guide that I've put into the handouts today. Really, I suppose, to complete the test or the course successfully, there's 3 paths. Okay, so you can do the block, what do I already know, and get all the tasks correct, like I just demonstrated. And in that case, you could go straight to the end test. Now, as a tutor, you might want the learners to go through the lessons anyway as practice. The important thing is that that end test will only appear based on conditions. Okay, it's what we call conditionally released. And those conditions are either all of these have been answered correctly, or some of them have been answered incorrectly, this one here, which then means that you need to do a combination of lessons and the tasks. So for example, if I had failed task 4, I would need to then go and do lesson 4. Okay, so what it's saying here in this image is that you only do the lessons that correspond to incorrectly answered tasks. For example, if task 2 result is go to lesson, because I failed it, then you'd have to do lesson 2. So in that way, the learner could quite quickly go through a course as well. If they get some of the tasks right, but some wrong, then they have to do their corresponding lessons, and then the end test will appear. Or if it's B, which is the got everything wrong, so all the tasks are answered incorrectly, then the learner has to do all the lessons, and then the end test will appear. And once the end test is answered correctly, so all the questions are answered correctly, and then portfolio work, if portfolio work is needed, which it is on some of the courses, then the learner has successfully completed the course. And what happens is that the learner doesn't need to apply for a QQI award. We will do all the internal verification and have an external authenticator come in, and they will check all the work. And then based on the outcome of that, those checks, then we will forward the learner for a QQI award. So what we want to see is that the learners are successful overall. So I'll show you the tutor view, where you can monitor learner progress. So you can go straight to this page, which is learn.nala.ie, and then you would be given your tutor account by email. And as a tutor, you'd be automatically logged into all the courses. If for some reason a course doesn't appear for you, just email me and let me know, and I can sign you up for the course. Okay, so for example, if I go to level 3 general learning, I'll see all the level 3 ones. If I scroll across to level 2 general learning, I'll see all of those ones. And if I go back to all, I'll see all the courses. Just to say that there is also a tutor area now on that courses page. So you can sign up for Cpd courses for yourself. So the first one is launched now, which is called Integrating Literacy. So you can register for that once your tutor account has been created by us. Okay, so that would also appear for you. So you can view the courses just like the learner. So for example, you could click on pattern and relationship. You could click on content. And you could see those blocks that I was talking about. So the what do I already know, and then all the lessons. And you can dip in and out of the content and see what appears. Okay, so you might be doing a lesson on flags. And if you wanted to demonstrate that, then you could go straight to that particular page. If you want to view progress for a course, so for example, if I go to the home page again, then you click on a course of interest, then go to course admin and class progress. Now, all of these steps are available to you in a tutor guide, So when you log in with your tutor account, that tutor guide that I put into the handout section today is also available to you there. So you can download that and it'll explain how to follow progress. So I can go to class progress and I can see all the learners that have signed up for a course. I can see if they're successful or unsuccessful. So I can scroll across here and I can see for this learner that they've done question 2, question 1, question 3. There's a little red bar here. Okay, so they have got a go-to lesson. So if I want to see, well, what does that really mean? Then I can click on the learner name. And then I see that view that you just saw for the learner. So for the learner, we call it My Progress. For a tutor, it's called Class Progress. But basically, the view is the same. I can go to Grades. And I can see for tasks, this learner has passed some of the tasks, but they failed task 4, and it says Go to Lesson. So for this learner, to get that end test to appear, they would have to do lesson 4. So how do I know if they've done lesson 4 or not? Well, I can go to Content and I can see all the modules here and the percentage of completion. So they didn't have to do lesson 1, 2, nor 3, but I can see they have done lesson 4. So as a result, that end test has been released because they've done the right combination of things for it to appear. If I want to know what their grades are for that end test, then I can go back to Grades and then look at questions. And I can see here that all 4 questions have been answered and have been passed. So the learner is indeed successful. And even though the little red bar appears there, that refers to that task 4, okay, which stays at Go to Lesson. So that status will never change because they did fail it initially. But because they have gone and brushed up their skills by doing lesson 4, that's how they've been able to continue through the course. So, as I say, just because a learner is successful doesn't necessarily mean that they have to pass all of these. They could fail all of the tasks, but then they'd have to do all the lessons and then get all of these questions correctly answered. Okay. If I wanted to look at another course and learner progress, I could go to Home again, click on a course like Maths, again go to Course Admin, Class Progress. Okay, I actually have a couple of centres set up here, so but you'll only have the one centre. And then I can see all the learners that are enrolled. And I can see here, if I hover over it, that they've failed some tasks. They've got some right. So if I want to look into this in a bit more detail, I can click on the learner. And the first place I'd start is with grades, just to see what happened for them in the tasks. Maths has 21 learning outcomes, okay, in that QQI course descriptor. So we have 21 tasks. So the learner would need to pass all of them. Okay, so if I go to level 1, 2, 3, okay, so I can see that 7 is Go to Lesson, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 18, 19. So this learner would have to do a lot of lessons, okay? So I could make a note here that they'd need to have done at least 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and those other ones. And then if I want to know, well, have they done that? I'd click on Content. Then I can see each of the modules. Now in Maths, because the course is so long, we've divided up the lessons into sections. So if I click on the arrow here, I can see all the lessons that are in the section called numbers. So that's lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So the learner shouldn't have to do those because they got those questions right. However, we know they got lessons 7, 8, 9, 10, those ones wrong. And it looks like they haven't done any of the lessons here. So that would be the first thing this learner would have to do to progress through the course, is that they'd have to go and do the lessons that correspond to the tasks that they've failed. Okay. They've done some of them. So they've done 15 and 16, but they haven't done those earlier ones that they would need to do. Okay, so that would be the starting point for this learner. Note, in a course like maths, when I go to content, there's also portfolio work. And the portfolio work, in this case, involves 3 tasks, which are all file uploads. Okay, so just bear in mind that at level 3, there's a lot of portfolio work that has to be done. The learner can dip in and out of this, but we won't correct this in NALA. So we would assign a tutor to correct this work until the end test questions have all been successfully passed. Okay, so bear that in mind. There is a very good video that I would recommend if you go to our NALA website and go to our events and view all events. If you go back to any of our past events here, so if I go to page 2, there's one called Portfolio Work and QQI Standards. And if you click on that page, then there's a link to that recording, that webinar, and it goes through what kind of portfolio things you need to check. So for example, in maths, there's drawings that have to be done very accurately with the correct measurements drawn into them. So I would recommend that. So this is really, I suppose, our introductory session today. I'm going to go through and see if there's questions now, and feel free to ask any questions. So you can use the questions box, or you can also put up your hand, and I will hand over the microphone to you. Okay, so I'm just looking through some of the questions. And there's some comments in. Thank you, Catherine. So you've been using NALA for a few years. Okay, there was a question in from Beth about getting the email at the start. So let me put my email address up here, okay, with some links. And for those of you that have registered for today, I'll send out these slides as well. But you can contact me on cwhelan@nala.ie. It could be a case, Beth, that maybe your centre hasn't been set up yet. Normally there's one point of contact for the centre that we correspond with, and then they let us know if they need more than one tutor account, and you can have at least 5, but we'll also allow 10 or 20 if you need, so that's no problem, we can set that up. So it could be well a case that maybe you're not set up yet, or that maybe that email to that point of contact might have ended up in spam or something. So if you want to email me directly after this, we'll look and see about your centre and getting that set up. Okay. So I'm also going to have a look at if there's anybody who has a hand up, and to hand over any questions that you might have. So I will hand over to Catherine, and if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to do so. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. No, it's just I have a tutor in Ballahydrine, and he was asking me last week about doing the webinar with you yourselves on Nala.
Great.
So I told him, and he said to keep doing it. as much as possible that he was happy about it. So I joined you there because I was at another meeting, so I linked in with the other girl yesterday to tell her so that I was coming on, you know. So I'm with Nala 8 years this month coming.
Great.
Anyway, so
Wow.
I've learned a lot from it, like, so it's going
Brilliant.
good. Yeah.
Good. And if you have
Yeah.
any questions, and I should say this to all of you, to ring our free phone number at any time between 9:30 and 5, and it's the 1-800 20 20 65
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
And if
I
you
have all, yeah, I have all them details,
okay,
you
thanks a million.
know, so no problem, no problem.
Nice to talk to you.
Thank you
Bye.
yourself. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Beth. I'm not sure if you have any questions, Beth, but I've just unmuted you. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Beth.
Hiya. No, I don't have any questions. That was really useful, and I'm just going to email my team now and see about getting my login. I think it's just that we haven't started the process yet,
Okay.
but I'll email you if I have any issues.
Yeah, if you email me, cwhelan@nala.ie, and just let me know your centre name, and then I can look into it and just see maybe what's happened for you there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And then I see Bernadette, you had a question, so I'm just going to unmute you and hand it over to you if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, have I done that right? Did I unmute?
You have? Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Bernadette.
Hi, Katrina, how are you?
Good.
So I am starting as a new tutor with the adult basic education section in my ETB, and I'm just wondering what CPDs would you highly recommend for supporting my learners?
Yeah, we are doing, or we have some of these courses coming online. So there is one on integrating literacy. So you could sign up for that one with your tutor account. There's supposed to be another 2 coming out in December, so they're not too far off. And then there's one about, particularly this one, the preparing learning materials. We have a very nice workbook that we had developed some time ago on this. So we're now taking that workbook and yeah, like I know that the colleagues that have been working on that, they've been in NALA. Well, one of them's been there 23 years, so she's very experienced in how to, I suppose, tailor, even everyday things and look at it like if it's, a recipe or instructions on the back of a packet or something like that, and to think about, how you could use materials. The other thing that I'd recommend is if you go to the help button and click into that course. Now I'm working on this at the moment myself, but this is our kind of help course. And in here, there is a section called Tutors Support. And we've put in links to, for example, reading and writing workbooks. If I click on that, or it should start to appear for me. Go in this way. Okay, so there's a number of videos that we've put in. And yes, here's some of the worksheets on to do with the different courses, but also we have other things that are, more general, not to do with the platform. So on reading and writing, so they're all, clickable, downloadable, or videos. There's ones on maths. For ESOL learners that you might have, we've put some materials in there. So that's another good place to go and get resources. Is there any particular area that you'd like to see us work next on? Because certainly anything that, any feedback that we get in, we can always, prioritize that over something else. Like if it was numerical stuff, or if it was more general literacy, I can look to see to put up more resources on that, Bernadette.
Would there be something around, let's say, initial assessments with computer literacy?
I don't think we have. We certainly don't have anything up there at the moment around sort of the digital literacy, but I can have a look, see what we might have available.
Super.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the whole problem with the digital literacy is like we would have had some really nice workbooks in the past, but then everything changes so quickly, with even we can see it ourselves with different online tools.
Computers,
like
yes.
So yeah. But yeah, I can bring that back and see what might be available and then see what we could put up there as well. Was there a particular area of interest in the whole digital space?
I think just from the beginning, very basic, starting off, working with computers and integrating that into your everyday life, what the purpose of it is in relation to literacy as well. And can I ask as well, Katrina, I think I might have missed what you said there about the when you register with NARLA, is it an account? You register an account with NARLA, is it? And then
so you register, and if you were to go to our I suppose outer page courses.nala.ie and click on become a centre, then this would kick off the process for your centre to be registered with us, and from there then we would create the tutor accounts. So we'd create your username, password, enroll you as a tutor into all the courses, and any of your colleagues as well. So if you're not sure if your centre is set up or not, you can fill this one out, or you can also email me after today and I can look and see if your centre has been set up, and if not, we can kick off that process as well for you, Bernadette.
Perfect, that's what I'll do, Katrina. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. So thank you very much for your questions and for staying with me for an hour today. I know there's an awful lot in it. I appreciate that, and it's new for everyone. So when this webinar finishes, it'll take a while to process the recording, and then I'll make it available on the page for this event. And I would recommend to go to our NALA site and have a look at any of the past events there, because in there you'll see old recordings of webinars. So there might be one of interest, for example, that QQI and portfolio work one. And also you can have a look at maybe some of our newer events that you might be interested in registering for. There's literacy awareness training coming up in December. We have ones on ideas and tips for telling stories via Zoom. So, I do recommend to have a look through those, and they're all free, and we generally try and put them on around lunchtime as well. And we'll put the recordings up there afterwards too, if you happen to miss the event. And yeah, I just want to thank you for your time. When I close this webinar, there'll be a short survey that appears. There's 3 questions, so if you wouldn't mind taking the time to fill that out, that'd be great. And I hope you all have a very nice rest of the day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.